My siblings cut me out of my dad's will, only to find out he left me everything. Hey Reddit, so I'm Ethan, 34, and I just went through the most insane family drama. My dad recently passed, and my brother and sister, the golden children of the family hardware empire, basically told me I was worthless and cut me out of the will. Years of being the black sheep, the screw-up for becoming a teacher instead of joining the family business, finally came to a head. They acted like I didn't even deserve to grieve. I've always felt like the outsider, the disappointment. But something crazy happened at the will reading. Something that's turned my whole world upside down. Should I even tell you guys what happened? Okay, so I'm at the funeral, right? Trying to pay my respects, even after Bethany and Caleb made it clear I wasn't welcome. They were ice cold, barely acknowledging me. Bethany actually hissed, "You have no right to be here," like I was some kind of intruder. Caleb just stood there, arms crossed, looking down at me like I was something he'd scraped off his shoe. The disrespect was unreal. Then came the gut punch. Dad made it clear, "You get nothing. You're not in the will." I felt this wave of nausea wash over me. My own father erased me. All those years of feeling like I wasn't good enough, like I was a failure in his eyes. It was all confirmed in that moment. I just wanted to disappear. I mumbled something about just wanting to say goodbye, but Caleb cut me off. "Just go, Ethan. You've caused enough trouble." I walked away, feeling this crushing weight in my chest, like I couldn't breathe. I drove home in a daze, questioning everything. Had I made the wrong choices? Was I really that big of a disappointment? The thought of my dad, who I loved despite everything, choosing to leave me with nothing. It was devastating. I spent the next few days in a fog, barely able to function. Then the call came. Mr. Harding, my dad's lawyer, a kind man who'd always treated me with respect, even when my family hadn't. He said, "Ethan, there seems to be a misunderstanding. You're specifically mentioned in your father's will. The reading is next week and you need to be there." My stomach dropped. A misunderstanding? What the hell was going on? My family. They lied. They looked me in the eye and told me I was nothing. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. I actually started shaking. I felt sick, angry. I couldn't believe they would do that to me, to their own brother. It was in that moment I knew something was seriously wrong. This wasn't just about the money anymore. This was about something much deeper, something darker, and I was determined to find out the truth. Okay, so the will reading. I show up, heart pounding in my chest. Bethany and Caleb are there, all smiles and fake sympathy for the other mourners. They completely ignore me, like I'm invisible, until Mr. Harding calls for the reading to begin. Then Bethany turns, this sickly sweet smile plastered on her face. "Ethan," she says, all condescending, "we were just saying how surprised we were you decided to grace us with your presence. After all, Dad made his feelings about you quite clear, didn't he?" My hands clenched. "You lied to me," I managed to get out, my voice shaking. "You told me I wasn't in the will," Caleb scoffed. "A little white lie to spare your feelings. You wouldn't have understood." "Understood what?" "That my own father, despite our differences, still cared enough to include me. That I wasn't the complete failure they always made me out to be." I felt my face flush. "Understood what, Caleb? That you two planned to cut me out completely?" Bethany rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic, Ethan. It's just business." Dad was confused towards the end. He clearly wasn't thinking straight. Confused, he was sharp as a tack until the very last few weeks. Confused, he was perfectly lucid when he spoke to Mr. Harding. "Don't insult his memory with your lies." "Oh, please," Bethany sneered. "You always were Dad's little pet project, weren't you? Trying to manipulate him even in death." Manipulate him. They were the ones manipulating everything. My vision started to tunnel. I felt this rage building inside me, hot and suffocating. "You have no idea what you're talking about," I said, my voice rising. Caleb stepped closer, his voice low and menacing. "Look, Ethan, just drop it. We're trying to keep things civil here, for Dad." Civil? After they lied and tried to steal my inheritance, the hypocrisy was astounding. Civil. "You think this is civil? You stole from me, you lied to my face," I yelled. People were starting to stare. Bethany put a hand on my arm, her nails digging in. "Ethan, please, don't make a scene, it's not worth it." She gave me this look like I was the crazy one. Gaslighting, pure manipulation. And in that moment, something clicked. This wasn't normal. This wasn't just sibling rivalry. This was toxic. This was evil. I ripped my arm away from her. "It's not worth it. You stole from me, you tried to erase me, and you think I'm the one making a scene." I was shaking so hard I could barely stand. Mr. Harding cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should proceed with the reading." He looked at me with a mixture of pity and concern. I took a deep breath, trying to regain some semblance of composure. I knew I had to stay calm. I had to hear what my dad had to say. Even if it was from beyond the grave, it was the only way I was going to get any answers. And I knew, deep down, that whatever was in that will, it was going to change everything. A week later, and things have gone nuclear. I'm seriously starting to question if my family is even human. After the will reading, where, by the way, it turns out my dad left me controlling interest in the family business, the one they swore I'd never be a part of, my siblings have launched a full-scale smear campaign. First, they called a family meeting. I should have known better than to go, but some naive part of me hoped for a rational conversation. Ha, it was an ambush. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years all there, staring at me like I was some kind of monster. Bethany and Caleb had clearly been busy, poisoning everyone against me. My Aunt Susan, who used to slip me extra cookies when I was a kid, actually said, "Ethan, I'm so disappointed in you. Challenging your siblings like this, it's just not right." Not right? They lied to me. They tried to rob me. Then my Uncle George, Caleb's godfather, chimed in. "You know, your father always said you were unstable, too emotional for the business world." Unstable? I'm a high school teacher. I deal with teenagers all day. I think I can handle a little corporate drama. Caleb, the ever-so-charming brother, put his arm around me, all fake concern. "Ethan, we're just worried about you. This stress, it can't be good for you. Maybe you should just step away." For your own good. Step away from what? My inheritance, my father's legacy, I wanted to scream. Bethany, with her crocodile tears, added, "We just want what's best for the family, Ethan. We know you're not cut out for this." It was a circus. A public flogging disguised as a family intervention. I walked out, my head spinning. I couldn't believe the level of manipulation. They were twisting everything, making me out to be the bad guy. And it's not just the family. They've been spreading rumors about me in town, whispering about my mental instability and my greed. I've had parents of my students giving me weird looks. One even asked if I was still fit to teach. Fit to teach? I'm one of the most dedicated teachers in the district. This is affecting my job now. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I feel like I'm constantly looking over my shoulder. This is messing with my head. I'm starting to doubt myself. Am I crazy? Am I overreacting? But then I remember the look on their faces when they thought they'd gotten away with it. The pure, unadulterated greed. And I know I can't back down. This isn't just about the money anymore. This is about principle. This is about justice. This is about honoring my father's memory. I'm realizing I need to fight. I need to get a lawyer. I need to protect myself. I need to expose them for the lying, manipulative, greedy monsters they are. Wish me luck, Reddit. I have a feeling this is just the beginning. So after that circus of a family meeting, I was a wreck. I felt like I was losing my mind. I called up an old friend from college, Sarah. She's a therapist, and I desperately needed someone to talk to, someone outside this whole messed up family dynamic. I was hesitant at first. It all sounded so crazy even to me. I started stammering, "Sarah, you won't believe what's happening my family, they think I'm crazy." "Ethan, slow down," she said gently. "Take a deep breath. Tell me what's going on." So I spilled everything. The will, the lies, the smear campaign, the family meeting, the whole 9 yards. I was practically hyperventilating by the end of it. There was a silence on the other end of the line. Then Sarah said, her voice full of disbelief, "Ethan, are you serious? They told everyone you were unstable, because you inherited the business they tried to steal from you." "Yeah," I said, my voice cracking. "They're saying I'm not fit to teach, that I'm greedy, that I'm manipulating everyone." "Ethan," she said firmly, "this is classic gaslighting. They're trying to make you doubt your own sanity so they can regain control." Gaslighting. The word hit me like a ton of bricks. I'd heard of it, of course, but I never thought I'd be a victim of it, especially by my own family. "They're creating a narrative where you're the villain and they're the victims," Sarah continued. "They're isolating you, discrediting you, and trying to undermine your confidence. It's textbook abusive behavior." Abusive, another word that resonated deep within me. I'd always known my family was dysfunctional, but I never thought of it in terms of abuse. "Ethan," Sarah said softly, "you're not crazy, you're not overreacting. You're being manipulated, and you need to protect yourself." Hearing those words from someone I trusted, someone outside the twisted reality my family had created, it was like a weight had been lifted off my chest. I started to cry, not from sadness but from relief. Someone finally saw it. Someone finally validated what I was feeling. "What do I do?" I asked, my voice choked with emotion. "First," she said, "document everything. Every lie, every rumor, every interaction. Keep a journal, save emails, record phone calls if you can legally. You need evidence. And second, she continued, get a lawyer, a good one, someone who specializes in family disputes and estate law. You need to protect your inheritance and your reputation. And third, she added, limit your contact with your family. They're toxic. They're not going to change. You need to prioritize your own well-being. That conversation with Sarah was a turning point. It gave me the clarity I desperately needed. It helped me see that I wasn't the crazy one. They were. And I knew, with a newfound sense of determination, that I was going to fight back. I was going to expose their lies and reclaim what was rightfully mine. I wasn't going to let them win. Not this time. So I'm at the lawyer's office, right? Going through Dad's things. Mr. Harding hands me a sealed letter. Your father specifically requested I give you this after the will reading, he says. My hands are shaking as I open it. It's Dad's handwriting. Familiar and loving, he's apologizing. Apologizing for not being there for me, for not understanding my choices, for letting Bethany and Caleb influence him. He writes about how proud he is of me, of the teacher I became, of the man I am. He says he always admired my integrity, my passion. He calls me his quiet hero. I'm bawling at this point, tears streaming down my face. Mr. Harding pats me on the shoulder, his eyes glistening. Then I get to the last paragraph, and my blood runs cold. Dad writes, I know Bethany and Caleb have been difficult. They've always been driven by ambition, sometimes at the expense of others. I've tried to guide them, but I fear I haven't always succeeded. I worry about what they might do to the business, to the family name. They've already started cutting corners, making questionable decisions. I pray they find their way, but I trust you, Ethan, to protect what we've built. I trust you to do the right thing. Questionable decisions, cutting corners. What the hell was he talking about? Suddenly, all those whispers I'd overheard over the years, the rumors about shady deals and questionable accounting practices, it all clicked. They weren't just greedy, they were corrupt. I look up at Mr. Harding, my voice barely a whisper. What did he mean, questionable decisions? Mr. Harding sighs. Your father was concerned about some of their business practices. He didn't elaborate, but he was clearly worried. He pauses. Ethan, he left you the business for a reason, he trusted you. And that Reddit was the final straw, the letter, Dad's words, his trust. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It wasn't even about the betrayal. It was about my father, about his legacy. They weren't just trying to steal from me. They were destroying everything he had worked for. I felt this shift inside me. A hardening, the sadness, the self-doubt, the hurt, it all solidified into this cold, hard anger. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a protector, a warrior. I had a duty to my father, to his memory, to the family business he'd poured his heart and soul into. My hands stopped shaking. My vision cleared. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I looked Mr. Harding dead in the eye. I need to see the company records, I said, my voice steady and resolute. All of them. He nodded, a flicker of respect in his eyes. I believe I can arrange that, Ethan. That was the moment everything changed. The moment I stopped being the black sheep, the disappointment, the victim. I became something more. I became the heir, the protector, and I was ready for war. All right, Reddit, buckle up. This is where things get interesting. After that bombshell letter from my dad, I knew I couldn't just waltz in and accuse Bethany and Caleb. I needed proof, hard evidence. So I spent weeks practically living at the hardware store after school, going through every single record. Mr. Harding, bless his soul, pulled some strings and got me full access. He knew what was at stake. First, I went through the financial statements. Years of them, and what I found was, well, let's just say it wasn't pretty. Discrepancies everywhere, inflated expenses, missing inventory, questionable consulting fees paid to shell corporations. Jackpot. I meticulously copied everything, scanning documents, taking pictures with my phone, even making some good old-fashioned photocopies, because you never know when technology will fail you. I organized everything into neatly labeled folders, one for each offense. It was beautiful, like a forensic accountant's wet dream. Then I started talking to people. Long-term employees, Dad's old friends in the business, suppliers. Turns out, a lot of people had noticed Bethany and Caleb's shady dealings. They just hadn't spoken up, out of fear, loyalty, or just plain apathy. But once they knew I was on the case, they started talking. One guy, an old-timer who'd worked with my dad for decades, told me about a shipment of high-end power tools that mysteriously disappeared a few months back. Another mentioned a series of consulting contracts with a company owned by Bethany's husband. The pieces were starting to fit together. I started recording these conversations, with their permission, of course, because I'm not stupid. Documentation is key, people. I even reached out to a forensic accountant, recommended by Sarah, my therapist friend. Remember her? Expensive, yes, but worth every penny. He helped me connect the dots, tracing the money trail, uncovering the full extent of their financial shenanigans. It was a masterclass in white-collar crime. But I didn't stop there. I knew Bethany and Caleb were arrogant. They thought they were untouchable. So I suspected they might have incriminating emails or messages. And boy, was I right. I won't go into details about how I got access. Let's just say I have certain skills. But let's just say their digital footprint was a goldmine. Deleted emails recovered, text messages saved, even some interesting voicemails. Let us just say they weren't discussing the weather. By the time I was done, I had a mountain of evidence. Enough to bury them 10 times over. I had financial records, eyewitness testimony, digital correspondence, expert analysis, the works. I felt like a goddamn superhero. Ethan, the hardware heir, avenger of injustice. Okay, maybe that's a bit much, but you get the idea. I was ready. But it wasn't just about the evidence. I knew I needed support. I couldn't do this alone, so I started building my team. I reached out to some of the long-term employees I'd spoken to, the ones who were loyal to my dad, the ones who were disgusted by Bethany and Caleb's corruption. They were hesitant at first, afraid of losing their jobs, but I showed them the evidence. I showed them the letter from my dad. And I told them, this isn't just about me. This is about saving this company, about honoring the man who built it. And they agreed. They were in. And why a team? I also leaned heavily on Sarah. She helped me stay grounded, helped me manage the stress, helped me prepare for the inevitable fallout. She reminded me that I wasn't crazy, that I was doing the right thing. Having her in my corner was invaluable. And then there was Mr. Harding. He was my rock, my advisor, my Gandalf. He guided me through the legal complexities, helped me understand my rights, and reassured me that I had a strong case. He believed in me, even when I doubted myself. So there you have it, Reddit, my plan, my preparation, my arsenal. I was armed with evidence, backed by a team of loyal allies, and guided by wise counsel. I was no longer the scared, confused, heartbroken son. I was Ethan, the hardware heir, ready to take back what was rightfully mine and restore my father's legacy. I was ready for the confrontation. I was ready for war. Stay tuned. The best is yet to come. All right, Reddit, the moment you've all been waiting for. Confrontation time. I called a meeting at the store headquarters. Big conference room, all glass and steel, overlooking the loading docks. Ironic, considering all the shady shit that had been going down right under our noses. Bethany and Caleb showed up, looking smug and confident. They clearly thought they had this in the bag. Mom was there too, looking frail but determined. Mr. Harding sat beside me, a silent but powerful presence. My A-team, a handful of trusted employees, including Maria, the head of accounting, and Frank, the warehouse manager, stood along the back wall, faces grim. Bethany, all fake concern, started with, Ethan, honey, are you feeling all right? All this stress can't be good for you. She gave me this patronizing little pat on the arm. I almost laughed. I'm fine, Bethany, I said, my voice calm and steady. Let's get down to business. I placed a thick stack of files on the table. Thud, the sound echoed in the silent room. Bethany and Caleb exchanged a nervous glance. What's this? Caleb asked, his voice a little tighter than usual. Evidence, I said, my eyes locked on theirs. Evidence of your fraud, embezzlement, and general incompetence. Their faces went white. Mom gasped. You're bluffing, Bethany spat, but her voice wavered. Am I? I opened the first file. Let's talk about the consulting fees paid to Innovative Solutions Inc. I made air quotes with my fingers. A company, as I'm sure you'll recall, owned by your husband, Bethany. I slid a copy of the incorporation documents across the table. Funny how those consulting services started right after Dad got sick, isn't it? Bethany opened her mouth to speak, but I cut her off. And Caleb, I turned to him. Let's discuss those missing power tools, shall we? The ones that conveniently vanished around the same time you bought that new boat. I held up a picture of his shiny new toy pulled straight from his Instagram. Must be nice. They were speechless, completely stunned. The A-team exchanged satisfied glances. Mom just stared at her two precious children, her face a mask of disbelief. Oh, and let's not forget the inflated expenses, the cooked books, the shell corporations. I continued, flipping through the files. Maria, I nodded to my head of accounting, Would you care to elaborate on the creative accounting practices you uncovered? Maria stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. She laid out the details methodically and precisely, like she was dissecting a frog in biology class. It was beautiful. By the time she was finished, Bethany and Caleb looked like they were about to throw up. The power dynamic in the room had shifted. They were no longer in control. I was. I leaned back in my chair, my hands clasped behind my head. So, I said, my voice dangerously soft, I have a few options for you. I paused, letting the silence hang heavy in the air. Option 1, you relinquish control of the company but retain your shares. Option 2, I buy you out at a significantly reduced price considering your mismanagement. Option 3, I go public with all of this. The police get involved. The press has a field day. The family name is dragged through the mud. Your choice. The panic in their eyes was palpable. They looked at each other, then at Mom, then back at me. They knew they were beaten. Caleb, his voice barely a whisper, said, We'll relinquish control. Bethany just nodded, her face pale and drawn. And that Reddit was the moment of truth. The moment I took back what was mine. The moment I honored my father's legacy. The moment I finally stopped being the black sheep and became the goddamn shepherd. The fallout hasn't been pretty. Bethany and Caleb are still bitter, but they're keeping their distance. Mom, well, let's just say she's had a major wake-up call. She's finally seeing her precious children for who they really are. We're slowly starting to rebuild our relationship. It's a work in progress, but there's hope. As for the business, it's thriving. My team is killing it. We're implementing ethical practices, rebuilding trust with our customers and suppliers, and honoring my dad's vision. It's hard work, but it's incredibly rewarding. I'm not going to lie, Reddit. This whole experience has been traumatic, but it's also been empowering. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I learned that I have people who believe in me. And I learned that even when everything seems hopeless, the truth will prevail. Thanks for listening. And thanks for all the support. It means more than you know. It's been a few months since the showdown at the hardware store, and things have settled in a way. It's a weird mix of good and bad, honestly, like a bittersweet chocolate bar with extra salt. The immediate aftermath was rough. Bethany and Caleb were furious. There were some nasty emails, some veiled threats, the usual passive-aggressive bullshit. They tried to rally the extended family against me again, but this time it didn't work. Mom, to her credit, shut that shit down. She told them in no uncertain terms that they were wrong, that they needed to accept the consequences of their actions, and that she was proud of me for standing up for what was right. That was huge. I never thought I'd hear those words from her. They eventually backed off, licking their wounds and plotting their revenge, I'm sure. They still have their shares in the company, but they're not involved in the day-to-day operations. They mostly just glare at me during board meetings. It's awkward as hell, but I'm learning to ignore it. I have more important things to focus on. Speaking of the company, it's doing amazing. We've implemented some new initiatives, focusing on sustainable practices and community outreach. The employees are energized, the customers are happy, and the bottom line is looking healthy. It feels good to be building something positive, something I'm actually proud of. I even started a mentorship program with the local high school, combining my passion for teaching with my new role at the store. It's been incredibly rewarding. My relationship with Mom is complicated. We're talking more, which is good. She's even apologized for some of the things she said and did in the past. But there's still a lot of hurt there, a lot of years of unspoken resentment. It'll take time to heal, but we're both trying. Baby steps, right? The hardest part is the ongoing tension with Bethany and Caleb. We barely speak. Holidays are strained, family gatherings are awkward. It sucks. They're my siblings and I miss them. But I also know I can't go back to the way things were. I can't tolerate their toxicity, their manipulation, their greed. I've set boundaries and I'm sticking to them. Maybe someday we can reconcile, but right now, I'm focusing on protecting myself and my own little family, my amazing wife, who has been my rock through all of this, and our 2 cats, who are blissfully unaware of the family drama. This whole experience has been a roller coaster. It's been painful, exhausting, and at times terrifying. But it's also been liberating. I finally stood up for myself. I finally found my voice. I finally realized my own worth. And that Reddit is priceless. I'm not the black sheep anymore. So Reddit, have any of you dealt with toxic family dynamics and inheritance battles? How did you handle it? Any advice for navigating this ongoing weirdness with my siblings? I could use some wisdom from the internet hive mind.